Welcome everybody to another episode of Buried Pleasures. I'm your hostess, PollyAnnamazing, and today we're going to continue this theme of what's your pleasure. And I happen to have a wonderfully hilarious and amazing podcaster along the ride today. So, hey Nick, can you introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are.
Well, thank you for that great introduction. I am Big Nick. I am one of the co-hosts. My light is messing up. One of the co-hosts of Gag on This podcast, where we interview comedians, both locally and traveling, and we crack jokes. Oh, yeah. That's pretty much it.
That's the best rendition of what you do I've ever heard.
Well, what's funny is if you look on my email, it says, and the website, it says host, booker, creative lead, producer, and graphic artist. That's just my title that I gave myself.
Very nice. Great title. I have a few initials that I use on occasion, but not for this, for sure.
Well, I mean, if you work hard for those initials, like I put, I'm a certified alcohol drug counselor. I put that all the time.
Nice. Yes. That's fantastic, by the way. I don't know. I think you told me that actually. And I think that that's an awesome thing to do, by the way. Did you do that? And this is side noting. Did you do that before you became the comedian that you are? Or was that just an evolution thing that you did as well?
No, it was just an evolution. I got sober, and as most people do when they get sober, they want to save the world. So I went back to school, got an associate's in psychology, then got certified, and then worked in a treatment center. And I worked my way up to be like program director of the whole thing. But that, I mean, as I'm sure you know, that you can get burnout. Burnout is super real.
For sure. Especially when you're dealing with things that, perhaps maybe you might have had an issue with before that you're trying to really do some good, but you're in the back of your mind. It's like, yeah, this is enough. I've seen enough.
Yeah.
I can totally understand that. I empathize with that greatly. But anyway, so we were discussing what is your pleasure, and I'm excited to talk about what's your pleasure. So let's get started.
Let's get to it.
Let's get after it. So tell me, Nick, what is your pleasure?
Well, my main pleasure is documentaries. I can watch them to no end.
Yeah.
And I love them. And what's funny is I didn't grow up liking documentaries. It wasn't like I popped out of my mom and I was like, yay, documentaries. What it was is I actually watched, have you heard of the documentary, The Bridge?
No.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Don't apologize. It is amazing, because what they did is, so the Golden Gate is the place where people go to commit suicide the most in the nation, apparently. Mm-hmm. So this documentary crew filmed the Golden Gate Bridge for a year, and it does show people committing suicide. But it also, they interview family members of the people that, committed suicide or tried to commit suicide, or they interview one guy who actually survived the jump. And it was so well directed. It was just so beautiful and great that really kicked off my love for all things documentary.
I love that. Do you think, like, as we're getting older, because I think we're probably around the same age, you might be younger than me, I'm not for sure, but you have good movie references, by the way. Your Twitter posts are fire. I love them. So I'm taking it that we're about the same age. Do you think that and I tell this to my husband frequently, is that this is like a lazy way to learn things, right? Like you're actually not doing a whole lot, but you're actually doing a lot because you are learning. And how cool is it that this documentary, The Bridge, caused you to, like, that little switch to go, oh, well, that's neat. I'm all about learning about what goes on, the history of things and that sort of thing. So it just, I feel like I'm lazy. Like, I don't like to read. I love Audible books. I love for people to tell me stories, and that's a great way to learn things. But what's your thoughts on that?
I'm not, I mean, I'll read a book if it, like, I just finished a book on NLP, neuro linguistic programming.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so I if a book entices me, I'll do it. But yeah, I'm like you. Like with documentaries, I can learn just by watching, and then I can have that random tidbit of like not everybody dies when they jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, and I know that from a documentary.
Right. Cooler talk, like office cooler talk. I think that's great.
Well, I don't know if I'm at the water cooler and just be like, so guys, did you know the Golden Gate, more people commit suicide there than
Exactly
anywhere?
where I was going with that. Are you sure you don't want to do that? Because one of my favorite documentaries, and I know this is, you're just going to love this, is The Wonderful Whites of West Virginia.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that one so much.
That's one of, when you come from a place where people like that's relatively close from in proximity to where I grew up. So, the joke in the ER every night was, oh no, CPS Scott's her baby, it's her baby.
Dude, they
I,
were nuts. I mean, didn't one of them spoiler alert, but didn't one of the kids shoot the uncle?
listen, you're like, I know that you're from the West Coast. We've talked about that. And I'm definitely from Appalachia. I like to say it like that. But that if you know anybody from back there, one or two of the family members of anybody's family is just like that. That's a
Really?
there's that family in every town because it's
Jeez.
just a way of life. It's the poverty, it's the opportunistic. But honestly, if they were given a different place to live, a little more a little better place to live, maybe. I hate to say better because sorry out there for anybody in West Virginia that's listening to me, but more opportunity. They seem like really like they're on it, right? They're hustling 24/7 trying to get stuff done. So
Yeah, and well, that's one thing I found interesting about the documentary is it does show like there are these coal towns that when the mine leaves, there is literally you got a bar, a bingo parlor, and like that's it.
yeah, it's a terror. It's like that's why property is so cheap there,
Yeah.
because they really haven't built it up. But one of the spoiler alert for this, if you're ever in Morgantown, West Virginia, they have one of the best underground um, bar, places to go for drag shows. No lie.
Really?
Yes.
Huh.
A lot of people leave and go away from home and come back. That's kind of what it is. But WVU is up there, and they have great drag shows. I'm a huge
Well,
fan of the drag show.
big shout out to WVU.
All right. But they are they're not the University of Kentucky, which I am a alumni of. So just saying.
Look at you with your air of like I'm so much better.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, in the scheme of things, Kentucky is so much better than West Virginia. Sorry. I don't want to lose any fans that I have in West Virginia. But
Is it really? Because what's funny is I have a friend from Tennessee, and he just talks about how Tennessee is the best over there.
oh yeah, I know. They do. They're wrong though, every time. But I'm sure it's the same in your general area. There's like what sports teams you have? You're in Sacramento, correct? Like you got
We got
basketball,
the.
hockey.
I mean, I don't root for any of them,
Yeah.
but well, I do root for the San Jose Sharks. We have that.
Yeah, I watched them get beat by the Kraken, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yesterday.
Go Kraken. No.
And then let's see, we got 49ers, which my wife is a fan of.
Yeah.
I don't I mean I'll support them, but I'm a Cleveland Browns fan. Die
Oh my
hard.
gosh, get off my show right now. Are you serious?
Yeah, why are you a Steeler fan?
Yes, of course I am. I grew up in
Oh,
Kentucky.
then
No, my husband is a huge Browns fan. So yeah.
I
You had
am
no idea. I
disappointed.
know. I don't be disappointed. Listen, I'll tell you why I'm a huge Steelers fan. I watched Mr. Rogers as a child, and Lynn Swan was doing ballet on Mr. Rogers when I was a kid. And I thought it was the coolest thing. And also, my father watched movies like Hooper and Cannonball, like all those ones with the like Terry Bradshaw was in, and Jim Brown also from the Browns. Like there's some big key players that were in my life that I didn't know actually anything about football, but that made Terry Bradshaw be one of my favorites for years.
Yeah, if you take anything from this to your husband, just
Yeah.
say Super Bowl bound Browns.
Oh
I
gosh.
tell everybody that. And then we're always like, it's next year. Next year we'll do it.
Yeah, Cleveland is where you want to go if you want to ruin the coach or the quarterback. But
Pretty much.
yeah, that's okay. No worries. But let's get back to your pleasure because yeah, we want to talk more about documentaries that you've seen in the past that have really resonated with you that give you pleasure. So, what other than The Bridge?
So there's I'm trying to think of like there's been so many that they're The Bridge is the only one that like just straight up blew me away. There's some where you watch and you're just like, I watched one on there was this clown in Florida. And it was just he purposely, it was just a flyer that put out, and he purposely looks like a depressed, just drug-addled clown, and it was this guy's like social experiment. And I watched that. That was random. I just watched Pharma Bro on Hulu. That was interesting.
Oh, I haven't seen that. No spoiler alerts for new stuff, I guess. We'll probably
it's about Martin Shkreli.
Oh. Okay.
The guy that like boosted up that what was the AIDS drug, I believe.
Yeah. I think HIV drug. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
And then one I saw that was just insane because it was a guy interviewing his family about like sexual abuse. And the family was so candid because I guess it's on Amazon Prime, but the basis is the kid directing it was sexually abused by his uncle. And then it turns out, as he's interviewing his dad was also sexually abused by the uncle. And like the mom found out, and the mom divorced because the mom blamed the dad. Like, how could you let our kids around? So it was just very, very interesting how candid everybody was about it, especially because, and you've done spaces on it. Let's just put this out there. As a counselor, I came to know that sexual abuse, unfortunately, happens with regularity. I'm not saying it's the norm, but I am saying, like, I would be hard pressed to find anybody that really hasn't been sexually abused in some form or another.
Right. It's funny when you say that, because like I have younger daughters. Well, they're teenagers, and my youngest is 16. She'll talk about how she told me a story about how her friend was sexually assaulted. And I was like, oh gosh, I'm glad that she felt like she could trust you, that sort of thing. But in my mind, I was like, okay, do I need to ask specifics? We don't have to know those, but how are you feeling about what she said? Well, Mom, when boys touch your butt and stuff, that's sexual assault. And that happens all the time to us. And I was like, oh, okay. So that's your definition of sexual assault. That's why I do these shows on What's Your Pleasure, because the connotation for pleasure is always sexual. And I do teach about sex and sexuality and all kinds of raucous things that go along with that. But, again, you have to find your audience there. And these teenage girls believe that they are being assaulted in a way sexually, and you have to stand behind that. But then I also have to have the conversation with her about exactly what that means to me as being an ER provider and that sort of thing in the past. These are what that's my view of what sexual abuse or sexual assault is. But, like when it comes to those types of documentaries, I really do appreciate the ability for people to talk about it like they do, because I cannot imagine. I personally myself have not been a subject of abuse, and I'm so thankful for that. But I really do want other people to be able to use their voice for that. So, that's definitely something. And when you're doing counseling like you did, definitely, like, you're going to see addiction and abuse go hand in hand 100%, because people are always trying to find a way to make themselves feel better. Yeah. And social lubricants make us feel better, right? Yeah. Like, it's a thing.
Not even social lubricants. I mean, it could be a rail of Oxycontin.
Oh,
it
right.
Just makes you feel better. Sorry, I'm very candid with like
Rail of Oxycontin. No, I love it. No, because I understand the struggle. I definitely have seen my fair share of addicted patients as well. And you're dead on the money. It's a really sad and terrible thing that happens to people because they kind of get discounted. So it's good that you did. Like, good on you. Good on you for
well,
making people laugh
well, and
too.
what's weird is like, and this is sort of controversial, and I've actually had discussions with people. We are just going off on tangents. We'll get back to documentaries, audience. Don't worry.
Authenticity. That's what we're after here.
Yeah. So, and I've had discussions with other people about this. I'm not necessarily anti-drug as much as I'm pro-treatment.
Yeah.
Like,
I gotcha.
considering what is it, like, let's say it's grown to 15% of the population become addicted, have that addictive personality. So I'm not necessarily like, no, don't ever do drugs. But if you do drugs, you should have, you know, treatment should be available, especially because I don't know if maybe you guys did this. I don't know if it's just a West Coast thing or whatever, but at our schools, we have an every 7 minutes where one day they'll bring in like a vehicle that was in a DUI wreck. And every 7 minutes they'll pull, usually it's the popular kids with great grades.
Oh, sure.
They'll pull them out of school, and that's to signify that every 7 minutes somebody dies from a drunk driving accident. And it's like, if we can have that conversation about DUI, why can't we have that conversation about heroin overdoses, which I think are happening a lot now with the youth?
They totally are, especially where I came from too, the Southern Ohio, Northeastern Kentucky, like, I mean, impoverished places where people don't have anything else to do and they learn by example, right? So if your mom was an addict, 9 times out of 10, unfortunately, that might be the path that you have to go down as well. Doesn't mean that that's written in stone, but that happens. And, when you get involved with people who have had issues with addiction and abuse and whatever, people will say, well, take their kids away, but let's talk about the foster system in that too.
Oh, Jesus.
I've had social workers tell me I'd rather give them back to their family who are abusing them than for a stranger to abuse them. And that was a huge wake up call for me. And I couldn't believe that was actually happening, because in your grandiose young mind, you want to think, oh, they have all these social programs that help people. And, we're doing such great things by helping people who are in trouble or, parents can't take care of their kids. So we'll just put them in the foster system. Everything's great. No, not true. I mean, I'm not saying that is for everybody, obviously, but there is a huge bunch of people out there who just want to foster children for the money and also for exploitation purposes. It's a fact. Yep. Not everybody out there's nice.
No. And if you watch documentaries, you'll find that out.
True story. Do you like to watch like the true crime documentaries and all that, like Mindhunter kind of things?
I mean, Netflix is doing a bang up job with their crime scene, like the Cecil Hotel. I just recently watched the what was it? The Times Square Murderer.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, I'll watch those, but a lot of times it's just random ones. Like I recently just watched a documentary about this guy that he hosted a server for WikiLeaks when he was like 17.
Oh, wow.
And he was given files that the FBI wanted. So the FBI was like interrogating him. The family tried to escape. I think the interesting thing I find about documentaries is it shows the extraordinary in the ordinary.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was prolific. Jeez.
Well, thank you.
I'm
a deep thinker.
You're going to pull that out and use that as a title or something.
But it's true. Like they'll just follow around somebody you wouldn't look, twice at, and you're like, holy shit, this person has a very interesting backstory.
Right. It is it's funny how much we really we're interested in what everybody's doing all the time. I think that's one of those things that triggers the good chemicals in your brain. You're just like, oh, really? Tell me more. Right. Like, who ever thought about documentaries being this amazing way to learn things. I think what I equate it to when I was a child and the Wonderful World of Disney would come on at 8 o'clock.
Mm,
And I
yep.
would just sit there, fingers crossed. Please don't be a wildlife show. Please don't be a documentary about wildlife. I don't want to watch it. I want to watch a cartoon, right? So, and I totally hated that for the longest time. But as I've gotten older, and I think that that's what we do, we want to learn more things and we're more interested in this array of things available. Like I probably have watched more shows on tiny houses lately than I have anything because my mother is obsessed with tiny houses right now. And
Really?
oh my, she has Alzheimer's, man. It's the greatest thing. She wants her own tiny house in the backyard, although she cannot care for herself at all. She wants that tiny house. And so we watch lots, and that's another way to look into the lives of other folks. Like, I'm curious, what do you got in there? What do you
Yeah.
do? Why do you think we have that much curiosity about everybody else's business? Is it just our human nature? What makes us do that?
I mean, I think part of it's human nature. I also think there's some sickos out there that want to know that your life is like going into the ground, because then they'll walk away like, well, at least I'm not that bad.
Right. Oh, do you mean like the Tiger King? That was my favorite.
Dude.
That's my most recent favorite, I'll have to say. Drugs and animals and, and then you put in the splash of homosexuality and alternative lifestyles and stealing meats from the Walmart garbage can. I mean, there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah. Well, and what's crazy is that dude that did the documentary, he did it over a span of 5 years. Like that takes dedication, dude.
Oh, that just means I shouldn't say that. Like if you want to get into a documentary 5 years long with a group of people, you're in with that group of people, right? Like you're hanging out, you're doing stuff together.
You're one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, granted, documentaries take a while. Absolutely. But 5 years in, gotta wonder. Like, what are you there for? Are you there to pet tigers? I don't know.
What are you doing behind the scenes?
Mm-hmm.
What are you editing out?
My brain. That's what I'm thinking of is yeah. What do you need to know about all that for? But it is really cool. It's neat to like the historical documentaries, like the 9/11 stuff. Those were all really like make you go, huh? You can't melt this much metal with this much firepower. What? How's that work? They found explosive stuff they didn't, or even alien stuff. Like I'm telling you right now, I've been watching a couple of really cool thing, like YouTube kind of documentaries, like a little 30-minute, let's talk about how aliens jump inside volcanoes when they're ready to erupt. And we happened to watch one of those the day before the explosion of the Tonga volcano.
Oh, Jesus.
And subsequently watched the Eternals afterwards, as like in between. And so I keep telling my husband, since we've moved to the West Coast, we had the pandemic happen, and then all the fires and the murder hornets and huge snows and like catastrophic the landslides, all this kind of stuff happening. And I'm like, okay, I'm waiting for that volcano to erupt. I'm waiting. And it did. Thank God it wasn't over here. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were supposed to get tsunamis, but the waves weren't too bad.
I know, but sensationalism, what do you do? People won't want to watch the news if there's nothing cool on there. I always think that, like you see those slow news days when they tell a story about how some miracle horse was born or something like that. So that just doesn't make the news on a reg. And there you have it. It's on the news today because there's nothing else going on. So, okay.
I have not heard the aliens in volcanoes. Like I'm a big fan of aliens. Like I believe there's one guy who supposedly worked for Area 51, and now that he's out, he talks about how we reverse engineer. Like I'm a big believer with that guy. There was a Showtime documentary, like a 4-part, all about aliens and UFOs. Like I am big into that.
The government says like they've admitted to it, right? There are aliens. We know that there are alien life forms, but yes, anytime there's some videos out there, check them out on YouTube. I'll send you some links maybe. But yeah, and there's a certain volcano. I want to say it's in South America, Central America, somewhere that direction, that they have video after video of right before these eruptions happen. It looks like a ship is either disappearing into the side of the volcano or dropping into the lava, like into the mouth of the volcano.
Really?
Yes. So conspiracy theory that up, but I believe it. I mean, I just watched the Eternals. I'm pretty sure that we're all gonna we're all gonna there's a big robot in the middle of the planet everywhere. I don't know.
Like the Titans, they exist.
Right. Well, I mean, what else would explain these amazing stories that people have been telling for years? And by the way, this is also going to go into the National Archives so that later on people can hear us talk about it. Because I'm a huge fan of that, because I want my grandkids to hear me, my great grandchildren and their great grandchildren to hear their grandma talk about sex and things that we talk about on this show.
let me sit you down for a spell. Why don't you listen to me in my heyday?
That's right.
That's like I have a friend, Auntie Vice. She's BDSM dominatrix.
Yes, I've talked to her. She's awesome.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I'm not on the show. She's coming on the show though. We haven't scheduled yet, but yes, I've talked to her. She's awesome.
She is. Oh, she's so great. She's a fucking open book, and like the shit she talks about, I'm just like, man, if your kids ever listened. Whew.
Well, I have one that will listen, and I have my son's friends all listen because they laugh and they want to make fun of him. So it's fine. I don't
It's good fodder. Yeah, I can see
right.
that.
Like your mom talks about sex stuff. Oh, whenever I first started teaching Tantra, I have models. I have a vagina, yoni model, and a lingam model. Lingam is penis. So the kids would sit at the kitchen table and they'd be drinking, just playing but it's open conversation time for me at that point, like they're trying to have fun and they're laughing, but they're also learning at the same time. So it's a win-win situation for me, I'm educating one child at a time. So, but they were over 18, just so you know.
Yeah, let's put that disclaimer out there.
Yes, they were over 18 and they were happy to learn and touch all of the props and things. And there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah,
no, they got to learn.
Yeah, totally. And you got to teach them in the right way. Have you ever watched a documentary that you just were so horrified by it that you just couldn't even believe that the things were happening? I was trying to think of an instance for myself, and I'm gonna have to say it would have to go back to the documentary on oh my gosh, the cannibal guy. What's his name?
Dahmer.
Yeah. That was a disturbing, and like it was disturbing to me because also, well, when you work in the emergency room, you don't only have medical emergencies, you also have psychosocial emergencies as well, and people can scare you, and that kind of stuff scares me because you never know what's going on with folks, never, until you get down to it.
Yeah, when I was in taking psychology classes, I was amazed to find out that a common symptom of schizophrenia is lycanthropy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like they think they're werewolves, and I was like, holy shit, that's probably where the whole werewolf thing came from.
Right. And you can't discount what people are saying to you. Like they believe it in their mind is going on, and there is no plausible reasoning that's ever going to happen in that situation. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it gets a little sketchy every now and again. I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. And big ups to the people who do take care of the mentally ill, and also all the doctors, nurses, PAs, nurse practitioners. I'm going to just mention everybody. Housekeeping.
I was about to say, just name everything.
Everybody. Seriously, you guys are frontline workers and people in the grocery stores. Man, I talked to a lady who's a manager of a grocery store. God love her little heart. She's just working herself to death to make sure people get food. It's tough.
My God, that was so Midwest of you. God bless her little heart.
I didn't mean it in that way. I meant it in a nice way, not in any terrible way. No, that's a bless it. Oh, bless it. It's a good thing you're pretty. Yeah.
Oh, bless her little heart.
Bless her little heart. That's right. No, but I meant that in a nice way, not in a catty backstabbing way.
That's one thing I loved about like the Midwest. I have family in Kansas. Like they'll say a compliment, but if you're in the know, you know that that's not a compliment.
Yeah, that can happen quite a bit out there. Because you're raised to be so polite, Well, where I think since I've moved to the West Coast, this is an observation. People are just told to speak kindly, right? Back home, it's an expectation always. It's an innate thing because everybody goes to church and you all go to the same church for the most part. And I like to call it Whack-A-Bible, Ohio or Kentucky. That's why I've started saying Whack-A-Bible instead of Bible thumping. I had to get that like themes that I needed to change that I say frequently. So now it's Whack-A-Bible places. And that's not to deter anybody from experiencing their own religious awakenings. Do that on your own. I'm not trying to downplay that, but please no. It didn't work for me. I had to do something better for myself.
Whack-A-Bible. I'm gonna fucking use that. I am taking that.
Take it. Take it. Just invite me on a show sometime. That's all I say.
Well, when we do another podcast month, and Danny D is always complaining that we don't get enough women on. So
I will totally chop it up with some chicks. I don't care. I don't care who I talk to. I really love to talk. I know you don't know this about me. That's the great thing about being a podcaster is meeting all these other cool podcasters who are just as neurotic and weird as you are yourself. And so,
yeah.
The incessant talking and things that you do as a podcaster, things that you have to, you got to get yourself together with, and it's pretty cool. I'm not mad at it, but yeah, one of the things that I was going to ask you about in your journey to become this amazing podcaster that you are, did you ever think for a minute that you would be where you are? Like I suspect that you're pretty set in what you're doing. You're a comedian. You have this show. And again, tell me the name of your show, Gag on This, right?
Yep.
Gag on This. And you guys have been podcasting for how long together? Sorry.
So Rob and I, so it first started with me, Rob, and this guy, Jerron, who we all met at a comedy class. That started in July of 2018. And then we did it before an open mic. Danny D always went to the open mic. She eventually just sat on and she pushed herself on. And I was like, hey, she's funny, so let's do it. And then Sharon actually started showing up after Anti-Vice, his partner, came on.
Oh, I see.
So it varies. I think all four of us have been doing it, I think, a year.
Oh, nice. I'm just past a year. November was a year, and it has been a wild ride. I love this. The Wild West of podcasting. Super cool for me because we can talk about anything like documentaries or sexuality or whatever. Oh, documentaries. What I was going to ask you, have you seen the documentary? I think, is it called, it's about mushrooms. It has Sting in it. My gosh, my brain just broke. I'm going to think about it for a moment and we'll circle back to that.
Like magic mushrooms?
Yeah. It's psychedelics. It was about psychedelics, and it was a really interesting and fantastic documentary because I am on this search to help people do whatever it is that they feel helps them to feel better. And microdosing mushrooms may be good for some people. I think that that's those are the kinds of things that I see in documentaries like that just blow me away. And, like for instance, the Charlotte's Web marijuana, strain, that documentary with Sanjay Gupta. Holy cow. That was a great documentary. And it kind of introduced the use of medical marijuana to a whole nother group of people,
Yeah.
That's a cool thing that you can see, or documentaries with medical treatments for autism for kids and that sort of, like, anything that you can put out that helps somebody else somewhere has got to be a good thing. it's just it's a great way to showcase things that you've learned and put it out to people who don't like to read. Like myself, or just even listening to podcasts is just a great way to learn new things, and that's what I intend to continue to do forever.
Well, I also, the one thing I like about the community is I was amazed at how supportive everyone was. And what's funny is looking like I was amazed, but now looking back on it, I'm like, well, I think it's because we understand the grind of like,
Right.
like you record, you probably edit yourself, post on social media, like you run everything. And I think we all understand the grind, because even though I have 4 hosts, I do everything and they don't understand that. And it pisses me off.
Oh, do you need a new show? I'm sorry. No, I know you don't.
I mean, I, in case they listen, I love them. They know this, but they know my frustration with I bring topics and they immediately respond with, "That's dumb. What else do you have?" And it's like, you just showed
Oh,
up. You didn't prep anything,
yeah, right.
bastards.
Well, daggone it. Quit being mean to Big Nick, guys. Gosh. That's not, oh, I hate that. But you know what, though? You guys make people laugh. I laughed definitely listening to your show for sure. And
Which
if you did a show on documentaries, I would totally,
oh
absolutely, hands down, laugh at you.
yeah, I would get crucified if I brought that topic. The good thing is a lot of us have the same sense of humor. I don't know which one you listen to, but sometimes we push the boundaries. And there's been a couple episodes where we stop recording and we're all looking at each other like, oh boy, we went there, didn't we?
Yeah, though, it's good though. It's good to have, like, I don't always stay in the same realm. Like we're talking about what's your pleasure, and your pleasure is documentaries, but your pleasure is also your life and what you do in it.
Mhm.
And that's your podcasting, that's your comedy, that's your interactions with your podmates. Like that's, do you call them podmates? I just did that out of the blue.
I was going to say, I was like, I've never heard that term before.
Listen, I just did a show, and shout out to the Kinky Cocktail Hour. I just did a show with Lady Petra and Saffron Master that has not come out yet. But they were using a lot of terminology that, again, I am a sex educator, but I'm not in the kink realm of sex education. So they were throwing out terms, and I'm just like, wow, that's a thing. I had no idea. I felt like I was in school again. It was great. But you know what, that's the kind of cool thing. I teach on a different level than what they teach. They teach kink classes, and I don't teach kink classes because that's not my forte. I'm a little more vanilla, like a whole lot more vanilla than they are.
Yeah, there's some strange kinks out there. Like I remember when I found out about ball crushing as
Oh,
like a
crazy,
kink, and
right?
I was like, so at first I thought it was a woman thing. I was like, oh, women get off on, and they were like, no, men enjoy getting their balls crushed by
Thank
a
you.
chick in a high heel. And I'm like, that's insane.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where like I get you're not supposed to kink shame, but at the same time, like, no offense if you have this kink, anybody out there, but shit and piss, like I don't want to shame you, but I honestly do not get that kink
I don't.
whatsoever.
Right. And that's the thing, you're not supposed to. That if it's in your realm of comfort and enjoyment, then you'll seek that out if you need it. And there are places that you can find it for sure.
But how do you broach that with someone? Like, how do you eventually get to the point where you say, look, I'm into getting shit on. I want you to shit on me. Like,
That just like that. That's how communication works. And that's why we're such a fucked up bunch of people, is because we don't know how to communicate our feelings, and then it all gets shitty, and everything goes sideways because we can't tell the truth because we're afraid we're going to get in trouble, or somebody's not going to like us, or somebody's going to think we're gross. And that's what happens. And it's sad, but it's true. And I can sit here and say that I'm super open to a lot of experiences and what have you. But I also, just like you said, I'm just like, nope, I'm not about that. I don't think that doesn't work for me.
yeah,
And
no.
that's okay too. And again, even in the realm of teaching sexual practices and that sort of thing, There are tons of people out there that believe that they are bringing the thunder 24/7 in their relationship and they don't need help. Well, that's cool too. I'm all right with that. But I can tell you you're not. No, I'm just
I think that's a universal truth in every
right.
relationship.
Right.
It's like,
That's
no,
it.
you're not.
No, you're not. Anyway, there's always something that, this is the analogy you didn't know you liked pizza until you tried it, right?
Mhm.
I say that about a lot of things because when you talk about, yeah, we'll get graphic for a minute. Men with anal play, men associate heterosexual men have this association that that's a homosexual practice. But dude, you tell a guy to do that and they're all about it afterwards, but they don't want you to tell anybody. Shh, don't tell anybody that that's what I did. You know, it's just, it's all in your comfort zone. But I encourage people to use their truth, use your voice, man. Tell people if you want something and you think it's weird, talk about why you think it's weird. And if they're not down for it, they have to understand that, you may choose to seek that other places. It's for you should always do that. But having the conversation about it is important up front. You just have to. I mean, like, how many people have you seen documentaries? There's lots of documentaries on men who marry women, have children and families, but have secret lives.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because we're afraid to make waves. We're afraid to make people feel uncomfortable or afraid to hurt their feelings to the point where they won't love you anymore or they won't like you as much. So it's just, I think that's a human nature thing that we do. And it's unfortunate, but that's also, we teach that every day. Like, don't tell people that they don't look good. Don't tell people the truth. Be nice about it. Really. And then when it comes to your own sexuality, your own wants and needs and desires, then you fall short because that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Perfect example. What was the documentary we were talking about? Aaron Hernandez.
Mm-hmm.
You can't talk, so you go out and kill people. Okay. It's not good.
Yeah, that was a very interesting, and that was a Netflix one. I'm telling you, Netflix is killing it with their documentaries, man.
I'll agree. And I think that psychedelic one, gosh, whoever's out there that can tell me what that is whenever I get done with this show, I'm going to be so happy. I'm going to go watch it actually.
I think that's actually legal where you're at to do. I know
well, in Oregon, I know that mushrooms are decriminalized, but in Washington, I think they may have decriminalized in Seattle, like the city of Seattle, not necessarily out in the counties.
Oh no, I'm talking about the therapy. I think you guys have
Oh, yeah, yeah,
licensed.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. They are starting the microdosing therapies. And that's what they're doing it with healthcare workers too. They're starting it with frontline COVID workers, which I think, why not? We're all crazy doing this stuff anyway, right? So, or in a way, you have to have some sort of issue to be the person who cleans up the mess of people that die or are sick or ailing. There's something that's just different about you.
Yeah.
And there's something different about you, Nick. No, that's it. There's some kind of trigger, some kind of chemical that we own in our brains that other people don't, that makes us want to do that. Same, like you want to make people laugh. And there's something that goes on in your amygdala somewhere that's like, oh, let's make people laugh.
I think it's also, I mean, if I had a shitty childhood, so if I take myself too seriously, I'm gonna kiss the end of a shotgun.
I got you.
Easily.
I totally understand that. I really do, because I've seen it. And again, had you been able to talk about that a little bit better, you might not have been so funny. So
Yeah.
super funny now. I
I'm
know.
you keep saying that. I just want the audience to know I'm not that funny. I'm not.
No, you're
Not
so serious. You're really kind of boring.
well,
And yeah.
well, I think what's weird is like the tweets that I'm proud of that I think are funny don't really get any reaction. But like yesterday, I posted just this random tweet of like, what did I say? Oh, everyone's worried about the doomsday clock, and I'm sitting here waiting for Yellowstone to blow up. That thing got like 500 likes, and I'm like, why is this
Because you put
trending?
Yellowstone on there and people are in Yellowstone trends. That's why. Algorithms. It's the aliens, Nick. That's what's going on. They're in control of the algorithms.
Do you think aliens walk among us?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to tell you why. Okay. I talked to a guy once, and he's a writer. He lives over in Asia. He's from the Midwest. He swears that on a daily he's walking around with alien people. Now, he has described this to me several times, and in the work that I do in my life, I have to people bring their problems to me, and I try to help them work through them in whatever way, like prescribing, by doing a therapy, whatever it is you need. And this gentleman in particular had, like, he believes in his heart that there are aliens that are walking around and he can see them where other people can't. I believe him. I don't discount what he's saying. And I know it might sound insane, but I know for a fact that I've stood outside in Ohio and seen the 5, 6 lights all together jet from one edge of the sky to the other and then come back together, spin around each other, and then disappear.
I have not. See, that's what I want to see. I want to see, like, I believe aliens exist in the sense that I believe that there's life on other, in one form or another, on different planets. It could be amoebas, it could be whatever, but I don't know. I don't know.
I'm waiting for it to happen. I'm waiting for that. Like, why do they? Okay, think about it. Why are the Marvel movies so amazing? Because there's so many characters, so many backstories. They do such a great job. The infinite amount of alternate universes that are possible out there. We don't know a third of what we should know about any of these things, and it just keeps happening over and over again. I believe it. I do.
I do believe there's a lot that is left unexplained, like the fact that there's a whole light system that we can't see whatsoever. Like, what is going on there?
Mm-hmm. That's it. That reminds me. I watched a documentary, David Attenborough. Any kind of David Attenborough, whenever he does his, when he just talks, it's just the greatest. I'll watch anything that's an animal documentary with David Attenborough. But I watched one where this one wasn't particularly with David Attenborough, but this one was something to do with animals at night, where scientists have figured that the animals are bioluminescent. And so they go out into the woods at night with black lights and, just hit them on these animals, and they're glowing, and that's a whole nother realm. Like you were saying, we don't see these different degrees of light, and animals can. And why would we think that we're so superior when they can change colors?
Yeah.
They can do all those cool things. They can glow in the dark. They can, geez, that's some really cool stuff.
There's also I give credit a lot to my biology teacher in Sierra College, because he taught me the weirdest shit. Like, ducks have a corkscrew penis. A woman, female duck, has 3 vaginas. So if a duck ends up trying to have sex with her, she can actually spin her vagina around so she doesn't get pregnant. Like, that's amazing. But the most amazing thing he did is he showed me a David Attenborough Planet Earth thing. There's a fungus that gets into insects and reptiles, where its main purpose is it infects the brain and it causes them to go to the highest point of a tree, branch, whatever, and it pops out of their brain, and then it releases spores. Like, that is freaking amazing.
It's crazy, right? Well, you can, I mean, like that. That is amazing. I didn't know about duck vaginas, though. Now I'm gonna have to look that up. That's gonna be a subject for a whole nother show.
Yeah, dude. It's
corkscrew penises and rotating vaginas. That could be a great name for a band.
Yeah, well, and what's weird is, like, a lot of people don't know this, but the majority of sex in the animal kingdom is basically rape. Like, otters, they rape other otters. That's how you get baby otters. Like, it's crazy.
It is crazy. And then also, that's another thing that females do in the animal kingdom, is that their genitalia signals when they're ready to ovulate or what have you, when it's their time to procreate, which I thought was amazing. Because could you imagine what would our genes look like if we had to do that? Like, would they have a little peekaboo window? Like, you really couldn't use like plasticky stuff. You
No.
need something that breathes. So maybe a mesh net. Holy cow. Think about it.
Well, and what's crazy is, and I tell my wife, like, I'm so amazed at the female form still to this day. Like, what is it that makes periods sync up? Like, that is crazy if you think about it. Your body syncs with other women, and there's like, that's crazy.
That should tell you guys something, just so you know.
The only thing it tells me is that in every group there is an alpha period, and I am curious what makes an alpha period.
Can we do a show on the alpha period? That's a good thing. I need let's do some research on that. Let's circle around. We'll get back to that too.
Yeah, because like, what makes the period so strong that it's like, nope, you're gonna follow my cycle? That's crazy. So nuts, dude. And that's what you learn from documentaries. You learn some weird shit like that.
That is on the last note of that. I think we should probably stop now while we're ahead, because there are so many more things that I want to talk to you about, but I'm going to have you on again because this has just been fantastic. But we're
like, I mean,
so excited about that you can end on alpha periods.
Well, like, go ask your husband, like, that shit. And then, I mean, and I
haven't had periods for 16 years. I'm good.
Yeah, but ask your husband, like, do you know what makes an alpha period? And he'll be like, it's just baffling that your fucking bodies do that, man. That's crazy.
No, I told you what it is that we're all connected and you guys aren't. So beware.
Yeah, no, I don't have wet dreams the same as Rob. Yeah, we don't cycle our wet dreams. That's for sure.
Wouldn't it be cute if you did, though?
No, it wouldn't.
You guys could have
cute.
T-shirts and everything. You could have an app so you could schedule it.
Oh, I could only imagine. Yeah, an app for wet dreams. You're
Totally.
like, oh,
dude, the gag on this wet dreams app. Shut your mouth. Do it.
Well, now, I mean, yeah, it's
now,
like I was.
Now that you say it like that, it makes sense, right?
I was about to say, I was like, the product is the hardest thing to think about. So we got the product. Now we just need a great name.
That's the name. That's it. Oh my God. Nick, it has been a pleasure speaking with you tonight. Can you tell the audience out there where they can find you?
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at @TheBigNickJ. Gag on This releases episodes YouTube on Saturday, Monday on podcast platforms everywhere. So subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hear the episode 2 days before it's released. As you can tell, I've said this over and over and over for my intro. Also, we will be back in February. We're on hiatus now. I don't know when this comes out. Will it be out in February?
Yes, I hope it to be out in February.
Okay, so we're back. We're going to be interviewing all podcasts for February, so it'll be fun. And then if you're a comedian, you want to be a guest, hit me up.
Or if you're just really funny nurse practitioner. Anyway.
yeah, we could you could school me in the ways of an alpha period.
Oh my God. I'm going to look that stuff up as soon as I get done with this show today. But just as a reminder as well, I am PollyAnnamazing. You can find me at berrypleasures.com. You can find me at Berry Pleasures on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I think I have a couple TikToks. I don't know. I've got a girl that does some things for me. I don't know what I've got anymore. And shout out to Katie for doing the amazing job that she's doing on my videos on YouTube. I appreciate you greatly. I love your face. And I have to say that because she's awesome. I have a great virtual assistant. She's amazing. Anyway, so guys out there, thank you so much for listening to this rantings of crazy people about what's your pleasure, Nick. It's documentaries. All right, guys, have a great night. Bye.
Peace.
Just Some Podcast Media.